Poems from my book, Portraits of Rodeo Clowns and Royalty. Part 1, with an epigraph by Robert Frost. Poetry is taking life by the throat. The first poem, Rodeo Clowns for the Emotions. A friend said, "Some people are rodeo clowns for the emotions." He's right. I love to divert the bull, then dive into a rolling barrel, because I'm too ashamed to fly between the Brahma's horns. Once upon a time, a man asked, what if Adam and Eve lost Eden because they argued often? Then, once outside the garden, anger held them together, weary, rueful, and ashamed. Samani the Sufi said, "A peacock gains a different joy for each of his spread feathers, but when he looks down and sees his scaly feet, he feels ashamed." My smallest toe is homely, misshapen, and seemingly useless, although on the Sangre de Cristo trail, when my head hurt, my back too, and my tired soul, my toe could not be shamed. Some experts say that shame fell to you, Timothy, when Mom twisted her face as she changed your diapers, not Heinz Kohut. He wrote that in our mother's eyes we are all princes. Open yourself to the sweetness spigot. Beavers are working in the dark, as usual, and muskies are smiling in the reeds. The mosquitoes won't be back until May, and tonight swans are whistling overhead. Good spirits always discourage the slender-waisted paper wasps. Let them stay that way in their hives of bad attitude. Timothy, now that your old bucket's been patched, open yourself to the sweetness spigot and fill yourself with moonshine. Ragas at the Logging Museum. A moose head with gangliate antlers hangs over a tabla player and a flutist, while I listen to their breathtaking ragas. Draw knives, cross-cut saws, and broad axes are nailed to the rafters and upper walls and threaten to fall and split our skulls. A collection of firefighters' helmets droop along the lower wall like blisters of sap on a cherry tree wound. But I don't care if an axe drops. Already I smell something burning. My sweetened soul has burst into flames. Mystery of the leprous memory. Today, what provides this memory trailing behind my unexpected feelings? I once stood in Kathmandu before the sun could rise. Roosters were crowing and skinny dogs were yipping in the clank and clatter of the old order kingdom. Dawn dark Nepal rustled for me as I boarded the bus for Pokhara. Bejeweled old women held chickens in cardboard bundles. Their loose-toothed men offered me clove cigarettes, suspicion, and unfamiliar body odors. That crowded bus carried me to the leper hospital, where Rudy worked, and we would begin our trek across the Himalayas. Any expectations I might have had for a casual and scholarly life flaked away like slabs of stone, splitting from the face of holy Annapurna. The taste of Minnesota on July 4th. It was Independence Day. I climbed onto the copper roof of the historical building to view the crowds and fireworks. On the last verse of the Sousa tune, I watched the homeless in the alleyway stand and watch the explosions spray over Minnesota's Capitol dome. Each blast shook me and rattled my tailbone as my legs splayed on the ridge cap. Below, spreading like insect foam, 100,000 citizens oohed and awed and writhed with excitement. In the vaults, in storage rooms below me, carcass-eating bugs had already begun to chew on our cultural relics. Governors and learned drunks often sit up high and away from people once they've watched how a queen bee swells large and mindlessly produces egg after stingered egg. Neither her life nor theirs ever stops the digestion, the production, or havoc wrought with history's insistence. A dream while I deal with divorce. Some Melchizedek calls me toward a party in the wing of the old mansion I've inherited. But I only look through the door. Floor-to-ceiling plastic panels, the kind meat cutters hang at their walk-in freezers, remind me to go the other way. I punch in the garage door's code. It opens, not to the treasures Sinbad found, nor to skeletons or starving slaves. Instead, I find boxes with new windows, hallway doors, a miter saw, window trim, and new paint cans stacked on the end of an Archimedes lever. Squeezing through a foundation gap, I stroll into a grand ballroom with murals and millwork's intricate wood grain. When I finally return to my basement apartment, I sleep well, like a muskie, far below the ice fisherman's lure. When divorced, some women strap on high heels. Others wear terry cloth slippers with tiny blood stains on their tongues. For either, it's a sad day when she turns toward the faraway sky beyond the feed mill. Some men look under the porch for the frightened puppy. Others just watch college basketball. They never turn toward the unfinished rooms where, as carpenters, they could nail sheathing to the wall studs. How does it go when you're suffering? When you're suffering, your parakeet flies away, and a wren scolds you through a kitchen window. You excuse yourself and drive 20 miles for milk. A semi-truck passes you on the highway and nearly blows you into the ditch. Then you get a flat tire. Crows gather in the old-growth woods to scream at you. You learn that beauty won't save you. It waits in the background, a faithful old friend, until you quietly call for company. I dream heads of men. I dream heads of men with their faces turned away. On picnic benches in lines of silence, their heads spray small hairs into a sunny afternoon breeze. As I walk to shake the tattooed hand of the man I like least in this world, his eyes transform into bright red holes. But he shakes my hand softly, as tentatively as a caterpillar searching a leaf's edge. In Minnesota, we wear leather. In leather, I swagger. I'm not ruthless or nasty. Elsewhere, maybe in the tropics, I would wear a silk shift and light moon-colored cotton to sit in the shade of a eucalyptus and wait for a chance to fly. With my jacket of hide in my new brushed leather, I am the animal. The smell of processing, the light tanned color, its tactile sturdiness, and the leather's emanations focus a keen strength to my flesh. Now I understand why Buddhists refrain from wearing leather. Hunting a tamarack for bonsai. Let's hunt the swamp and not worry about our socks or brackish water in our shoes. Owls don't avoid the darkness when they hunt. The sun never worries about morning fogs. We're just looking for a tamarack, old enough and small enough to accept your attentive bonsai knife. Moses listened to the fire in a bush and never feared Pharaoh or the Nile again. Nichiren went quietly to the executioner's block, and an ally in the lightning saved his life. This swamp's dark water fills the roots of those who can ably handle its moisture. When a wasp walks the peony bush. I watch a wasp walk the peony bush as it examines the fissures forming where the bloom will push its petals outward. A goldfinch sits on the honeysuckle vine and whistles, as if to awaken the yellow, clench-fisted buds. Then a robin hops through the garden, stops, looks at me through the porch screens, and hops on, hunting worms in the black ground. From the kitchen, the aroma of a roasting chicken wafts through the porch, to greening trees, white clouds, and the blue sky. From the radio, New Orleans jazz serves me the way the wasp serves the peony, and I become more than my inner life. My greedy soul at Burnt-Side Lake. One night my greedy soul lay down on a path beside a black fisher with distemper, and it snarled at the flashlight beam from another's lamp. Unable to turn or return to the dark, its aggression dissolved into the pebbles on which others trod to the campfire and its tending. After an hour's sauna, my arrogant soul swam with the loons through the lake's cold waves, and it danced upward into the full moon's glow. Driving home the next day, I watched a wolf cross the highway. Its black and gray coat gleamed in the sun, and my soul trotted off behind it. In the silent hour, 30 white men wade into shallow water. A chill splashes up over our heavy legs, shrinks our scrotums, and laps our thickening waists. In deeper, an occasional soul drops fully into his private pool of dark, eerie isolation, then emerges rolling with the great exalting gasps of his whale nature. Bears recognize such sounds, and for a moment contemplate the art of herd animals. Kingfishers comprehend the quick dips and stuttering hoots of a hunter overcome by cold water. Across the bottom's sand, where snails dance in a slow show of persistence, Our watery footprints vanish as we celebrate our herd, aloneness, and the spectacle of silent joy. To the Sea of Preexistence with Thomas R. Smith. As we walk back from a cafe lunch, you find a fallen nest beneath a linden tree. It's a tight bowl with furniture batting and blue threads tucked between brown grasses. This is July, but the nest looks snow-capped. Our teacher is like this. His white hair, somewhat combed, spills from his hat, and the egg of his attention is gone. Although we share a library of memories, they're inaccessible to him now. Even with a cane, he walks unsteadily. Still, his emotional life is as full as ever. Laughter, sweetness, anger, and snarkiness circle in the cavity of his creativity, and we see beauty in woven lines. They conform to the existence of the one who calmly sits in the song-filled fields, reading books, watching grandchildren, and preparing for his dramatic journey to the Sea of Preexistence. The Cave Crawler. He told me he was a cave crawler, and he had never feared the dark, even when wedged in a passage with a rock beneath his heart. He waited for his lungs to empty and extracted himself with his toes. I could never spelunk. I was born breeched. Forceps pulled me out, and those moments between the wet womb and the wide world make it easier now to choose the realm of living color.